Thank you very much. Thanks for the kind words, Eddie, and the backhanded compliments as well. So yes, I mean, basically, I know most of you in here, and it's nice to see some old faces I only kind of get to see occasionally. But my name is Matt Heath, and I'm local here in Sonoma County. I'm the first vice chair of the party here, kind of doing a political direction for the party. But I also was just recently elected to the California Republican Party Board of Directors as a vice chair of the Northwest. So I want to start out with kind of a question Eddie asked there that she receives is, what is the structure of the Republican Party? Because we hear things, you know, the RNC, Republican National Committee, we hear about the CRP, and then we hear about the Sonoma County Republican Party, and a lot of folks don't really know the difference of that. I mean, just to show of hands, do folks in here know the difference between the RNC, the CRP, and the Sonoma County Republican Party? Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, the way it starts is it truly is a bottom-up organization. The Sonoma County Republican Party, of all of those, is the only organization, the only political party that is found and constituted in the Election Code of California. There's an election code that requires each county to have a political party that is a registered ballot designated political party, meaning when they run for office, you know, there's a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian, any of those that are characterized having ballot designations as a party, the counties are required to have a central committee. So we are 100% here in Sonoma County, as in Marin, as the constituted Republican Party. The California Republican Party is kind of like a Congress of all of the counties within California. And so I believe that's 58 counties that we have, and so each one of those counties is supposed to have a central committee that's founded in election code, and we all meet. And then the same thing for the Republican National Committee. The Republican National Committee only exists because of the state parties. And so the Republican National Committee, the RNC, is set up with an organization from each of the 50 states. And so in California, we send 3 people from California to represent us at the Republican National Committee. That is our chairman, who was just recently elected, Jessica Patterson, as well as our 2 national committee folks, a national committeeman, Sean Steele, and our national committee woman, Harmeet Dillon. A quick plug, Friday, September 13th, Harmeet Dillon will be in Sonoma County down in Roner Park to keynote a dinner for us. So pay attention to those details as they come forward. Many of you have seen her probably on Fox News. She does a lot of contributing there. She also does a lot of free legal work, pro bono work for First Amendment cases, college cases, things like that. She has a lot to say, and we're able to get here in Sonoma County. But so getting to the gist of it, so the just to reiterate, the Republican National Committee only exists because of the California Republican Party, and the California Republican Party only exists because of the Sonoma County Republican Party, Del Norte, Sonoma County, Marin, all those different counties. So the Sonoma County Republican Party is also not funded by the California Republican Party, just as the California Republican Party isn't funded by the Republican National Committee. I didn't know that when I first got into politics. We all get mailers from candidates. We get mailers from different organizations. None of that money trickles down here into Sonoma County to try to help us elect anybody. All that money stays in Washington, D.C. They send it where they want to send it, which is not California. You know, California raises money. Many of us get surveys from the state party, and every survey asks for donations at the bottom of it. That, you know, I don't send them in even though I'm on the board, and they keep sending them to me over and over again, and I still don't send them in. They can ask me. I can tell them how I feel about things personally. But that money does not come to Sonoma County. It takes a lot of work to get any of that money to come back down into our county or into just our region alone. Give you a quick story. Humboldt County, is about 4 hours drive north of here, Eureka. They have an office right on Main Street. They've been vandalized 5 times in the past 2 years. Windows smashed, graffiti written on their windows. First meeting that I attended since the convention, I showed up at a litany of complaints, basically. We're not taken seriously. Nobody cares about us. We feel, that we're not part of the state, all of our counties in the region, and I complained about Humboldt County. Within a week, they did a fundraiser for Humboldt County, the California Republican Party, and raised $2,400 for them to be able to fix their windows and get a better security system into their county. Because that's a county, as we know, that's really difficult to elect Republicans as well, too. They have a slightly higher percentage rate than we do, but it's really difficult for them to do that. So it takes some work. We can get them to do things to try to help us here in the county, but ultimately it takes some work, and it takes some work from, kind of being like by myself, being myself being a pain in the ass, pardon my French. But that's the kind of guy I am when I want to get something done. So, the California Republican Party Board of Directors, and thank you, Mr. Dave Salon. We just had elections. The majority of the board was just recently elected. We elected a new chairman, we elected a new vice chairman, we elected a new treasurer, we elected a new secretary, and 6 out of the 8 regional directors, regional vice chairs, were just recently elected. So it's pretty much an open board, brand new board. So there's a lot of learning curve and there's a lot of new ideas and fresh energy. So I'm actually very optimistic about the future of the party because of this. We also have a new assemblywoman, leader of the Republican Assembly, Marie Waldron, who she's on the board. We also have our friend that many of us have heard speak, our new Senate GOP leader, Shannon Grove. She's on the board, as is Harmeet Dillon and Sean Steele. So there's some names we know on there who have some experience in what we do here in California to be successful at that level. And it's good for them to have some new blood in there as well, too, because as we know, what's been going on in the California Republican Party and winning elections is just not happening in California. I mean, we got trounced in 2018. We got trounced in 2016, and everybody is predicting the same thing to happen in 2020. So it's really going to take some real new ideas. It's really going to take ideas that help counties survive to win elections, to give them the resources, give us here in Sonoma County the resources to win elections. And that's the sort of thing that I'm hoping that this new board is going to bring. So one of the things that I was asked to do when I first was elected, Jessica Patterson asked me to join the registration committee, because one of the things the California Republican Party hasn't done for a number of years is have a registration program. Many of you remember 10 years ago there used to be a program, a bounty program, where if folks went out and did registration as an organization, as a central committee or a Republican Women Federated group or whatever the volunteer organization might be, you would get a certain amount of dollars back from the state party for registering people. And that went away about 8 to 10 years ago. There's a discrepancy on actually when it did, but about 2010 is really when it went away. And that's something that all of us, new folks, understand that needs to come back. There needs to be an incentive, number one, for us to do this, because it's not easy. We all know we work at the fairs, we work at farmers markets, we work at home shows, at garden shows. Citrus fairs, it is difficult to register Republican. We come away, and if we get 10 throw a weekend, it's like, yes. Back in the day, 50 used to happen. But that's difficult. But if we have the incentive that we know we're actually going to tangibly benefit, that we're going to be able to do more electioneering work, if we register more Republicans, we then can formulate better plans. And they understand this. After all, we're all capitalists. We all believe in the free market. You have to have products and incentives to get people to come to your product. And then secondly, we've got to get some more of that money that the state party has and bring it back down to the counties, because this is where the rubber meets the road. As Eddie said, I ran for office twice. Ran for state assembly, represent the 2nd District in 2014. I ran again in 2018. And I can say that the only help that I got, not the only, the majority, 80% and 90% of the help I got was from the county central committees. That's really where it is. I got help from volunteer organizations, Republican women here in Sonoma County. We have a club called the North Sonoma County Club, organizations like that. But most of that was funneled through the Republican parties. And at any candidate you ask, they want to have a functioning central committee. They want to have a functioning county party. And that's how you're going to make your phone calls. That's how precinct walks are going to get organized. That's how you're going to get the vote out. And with the new board, this is why I'm optimistic, because with the new board, you have folks who, most of us come from this local county level. We don't come from consulting firms. We don't come from, higher up organizations. We have a gal, Lisa Moreno from the Central Valley, she comes from a central committee of the Central Valley. Same thing. We've got a young lady from the Central Coast, same thing. The Bay Area is the chairman of San Francisco. And so it's really nice to have these, and we're all different to some extent too. We all have different ideas and we all have different interests, and our ultimate goal is to get more Republicans elected. And, it's exciting to see that. So we so far have had 2 meetings. I've got a meeting actually tomorrow night. That's a phone meeting. And the meeting so far, we're just kind of getting going, trying to figure things out. We've got to come up with a budget. That's the first priority that we have to do. We're kind of discussing budgetary items. We're pushing for, money to be in a bounty program so that we have money that we can legitimately get a program going so that there's money sent back down to the states. We also have to, prioritize, how we're going to do ballot harvesting. Because we all know that in Orange County, we got crushed with ballot harvesting. And I don't like the idea of going out and collecting somebody's ballot. I don't like to give anybody my ballot. I don't even like to put it in the mail. My wife and I, we show up that day, even though we filled it out 3 weeks ahead of time, we put it in a little box because that's the only way we feel secure that it's going to get there. The Democrats don't feel that way. You know, many of us have probably seen videos online that showed people ringing doorbells and showed how they convinced people and talked people into giving them their ballots, or didn't talk them into it, but we were able to see, you know, the videos that came from the little doorbell systems that they have now. You know, and it was pretty eye-opening. And so the party actually recognizes that even if we don't think that that is appropriate and that we should do it, we recognize that we have to do it. Because in Orange County, in Dana Warbacker's district, in Matthew Harper's assembly district, the list goes on, all up and down the state, but specifically down in Orange County and Southern California below the grapevine, you can see that on election night, Republicans were winning. But as ballots slowly got returned, you could see that Democrats just took over and won, and that was all because of ballot harvesting. That was all because you can register the day of the election, fill out your ballot, and you don't even have to be the one that hands it in. Anybody can hand it in for you. It just has to have your signature on the back. So we don't know actually what's going on with the ballots. We don't know how many times people are showing up in organizations and convincing people how to fill out the ballots and then handing in exactly the way they wanted them to vote. And so we've got to find our own system. So right now, I don't know if many of you are aware of this, but there's a special election in Los Angeles County, Senate District 33. We've got a really fine Republican, Jack Yarrow, running. And Jack is a Republican who ran for state treasurer in 2018. He in the primary ran against Greg Conlon, barely lost, almost won. He's a really talented young man. He's a Latino, works in the financial business. He's a city council member of Cudahy, which is, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a small town with. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. He's a small town in LA County. He was also the mayor at one point, and he's just an awesome guy. I mean, he's the sort of guy during public comment, he leaves the podium or leaves his fellow council members and goes down from the public and speaks from the public and chastises them for all the wrongs that they're doing. How that big contracts to their buddies, supporting the unions but not supporting private corporations. I mean, the list goes on. Raising taxes on specific industries that don't affect their people, and giving cushy contract deals to the people who have donated to their campaigns. He will go right down there and just give them the business. And so we've got a really good candidate running. So it's a great opportunity for the California Republican Party, for all of us as Republicans, because this is an opportunity to get elected, to get involved in one election. It's the only election going on right now where we can really make a difference. And so we've got, and the first time I've seen it with the state party, is they've got a phone from home program. And this is one of the neat things that I like to see coming out of these new ideas. And this is an idea that you can go online, you can use your phone, your smartphone, and you just click onto this link, you sign in, they give you a password, it's really easy to do, and you immediately start making phone calls into Senate District 33. A script pops up, so you know exactly what to say, and then you can press buttons which go right into the system that tell Jack and the California Republican Party where these people stand on the voting. So many of you came in here in September and October, we made phone calls in this office. Same exact system, except for you can do it from your home on the computer. And they're testing this system. So I'm hoping that it works, and that come 2020, we can be doing the same thing here in Sonoma County. And the neat thing about it, too, is that it's run through the LA data system, PDI. It's the data program that we all use in the state of California. And we use our own here in Sonoma County. And so it'd be neat if we're able to make phone calls and then that data gets pumped right back into our database. So Ron, who does our data here, can actually see where the votes are coming from, where we're getting the responses from, who answers their phone, who's likely to vote with us. Because these are the things that really matter on election day, and then who we need to go out there and collect ballots from. They're also going to getting back into that. And I'll have to answer questions when I'm done speaking, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
No problem. And so they're actually going to test a ballot harvesting program as well, too. Ballots will go out the beginning of May. The election is the first Tuesday of June. I can't think of the date right now. I can look on the calendar, and I think the election is on June 4th. And so right around May 4th is when ballots are going to go out. So in a couple weeks, they're going to be starting a program. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the fine details. I hope to hear about it tomorrow night on the phone when we have our conference call. I hope to find out the details on that, because it's something that hopefully we can then implement here in Sonoma County. And there's some different neat ideas on how to go about doing that, because that's a lot of what our discussions are right now. It's really trying to flesh out some new ideas, because what we've been doing just is not working. And we can't just keep trying that same old system. One of the things, I've been involved in politics for 10 years now, and I kind of came into the program, as sort of anti-establishment. And, here I am 10 years later, kind of the establishment. It's kind of ironic that way. and still was able to keep my long ponytail the whole time, which I think says something decent about me, that I'm pretty principally oriented to that extent, at least having long hair. But it's a really neat thing, because I now actually see the truth from being anti-establishment all those years ago. I can look at it now and I can say, it's not us that's losing the elections, because we're out here trying to do the best we can. It's the folks behind the scenes. It's not the California Republican Party either, because Jessica Patterson is doing the best she can do, and she's been trying to do that for 10 years, the best she can do. Peter Kuo, who is our vice chair, he's run for all sorts of different offices, done the best he can do to try to be the best voice out there for Republicans. And we can say that for all of them out there, but you have this group of people who, it's kind of like the bureaucrats of D.C., they don't go away. Regardless of who's in charge and who's in power, they stay there, and their wallets and their pockets just get bigger and bigger while we just continually lose elections. I always flash back to the John Cox campaign for governor. Somebody I supported before Travis Allen even got into the race. When he first spoke to us, we had our meeting over there, and he spoke with us just a couple doors down, and he really impressed me, and I got behind his campaign. And I really thought, well, here's a guy who's got his own money. He doesn't need big donations to be successful. Here's somebody who's already coming to Sonoma County in November of 2017, a year before the election even happens. And he said the right things, the questions that I cared about, he kind of had that, a real Republican conservative message, but more of that sort of Jack Kemp style, which is a little bit more palatable, for folks. Back east, he was somebody who was kind of popular in more of the Reagan Democrat era, was this Jack Kemp guy, where he came up with like freedom zones, well, let's just, conquer one area and give them economic, reduce the economic tax burden on them. And there's cases all over, New Jersey, where I'm from, where they did it in Elizabeth, right next to New York City, and all of a sudden an IKEA was built, and the shipping yards were going again because they just reduced taxes in that one area. And he had these different offbeat areas without kind of focusing on the wedge issues, and he was successful that way. And I thought John Cox could do that. Well, lo and behold, John Cox ended up hiring basically the same folks who've been running things in California, and he got to the primary, did a great job, and then vanished for 2 months. We didn't see him until September. And then he rented that nice bus, and I didn't see the bus come up to Sonoma County. And then we organized with the gentleman who was before my time as our vice chair, organized a tour of the North Coast. On a Saturday we started and went to Mendocino, and then went up to Humboldt, and then up to Del Norte. John Cox was invited. He was on the agenda, never showed up. Told us he wasn't coming like 2 weeks beforehand, but was on the agenda, didn't show up for it. Came to Sunday morning breakfast for Sonoma County, which was really nice that he did that with all the candidates. Then the whole candidate crew went up to Lake County. Well, he didn't go to Lake County, skipped that, went down and did something else. I don't think that's John Cox. I think that man ran for the right reasons. He ran because he wanted to serve California better. He's got family who lives here in California. He wanted them to have a better state. I say that I do all this because I don't want my son to have to leave California. And I think John Cox didn't want his family to have to leave California. But then you get these people who are behind the scenes. And those are the folks that they're not interested in that. They're interested in just keeping their day jobs going. They're interested in keeping the perpetual motion happening. Because if things change, they're not making their money. And to elect Republicans sometimes is not the best thing for them. And it's sad to say that, but that's something that I'm starting to see a little bit more of. And it's a shame. It can change. I'm still optimistic about it, because I think we can really make a difference. Because if we're able to, I look at that Humboldt case where I went and complained, and I got just a couple $1,000, not a lot of money, but I got them to do that for Humboldt County. There's no reason we're not able to do that all over the state. Another thing we're trying to do is, in the registration committee, is we're trying to send out postcards to, we haven't come up with the demographics yet, but postcards in every county all around the state to encourage people to register Republicans. Folks who just became citizens, students who are just turning 18, a whole host of demographics we've got to come up with how we're going to do it. And so I think it's a great idea, and I just, brought up the idea. I'm like, well, how great would it be if we made sure that every county had a unique postcard, that everything was the same except for one little box that said then, here in Sonoma County Republican Party, here's our phone number, here's our website. Peter Quob is a very spiritual religious man. He said, I love that. It's kind of like, become a Christian, and here's the churches to go to. You don't just say, become a Christian, and then that's it, thank you. No, you try to point them in the right direction. That was really, for him, that turned him on. It got him excited. Like, this is something we can do. And those are the sort of different ideas again. And for us, here in Sonoma County, I look at that and I'm like, we get a mailer. Because mailers are expensive. You know, we haven't been able to do a mailer here in Sonoma County. It's about tens of thousands of dollars just to mail people in Sonoma County. And so these are the sorts of things that I hope to do as a on the board of directors, is to try to help the 9 counties in the region that I represent. So the 9 counties that I represent go from Sonoma County up to the Oregon border. So it has Sonoma County, Mendocino County, Humboldt, Del Norte County. It also takes in Lake County, Solano County, Yolo County, and Napa County. And so, you know, it's a big area. It's difficult to travel the whole thing. Luckily for myself, running for assembly that had 5 of the counties in there kind of makes it a little bit easier, because I have these relationships. I don't necessarily need to go places to meet people, because I've made these relationships. I know who to speak to, who to get on the phone, which helps. But, you know, I'm also, at that same time, I'm trying to add everything that my predecessors did in our region. You know, it's like, you know, we're, you know, working to getting our fair going. You know, Debbie LeBoy's done an outstanding job, you know, really getting ahead of the curve, getting our fair booth happening for the Sonoma County Fair. You know, and so I working with her to you know, work with Humboldt County, who's got a printer up there for bumper stickers, so that we can get, you know, bumper stickers for a way better price than we ever would, because we're all working together instead of isolated. Because that's what's been happening for too long. Same thing, you know, with Trump hats. You know, folks up in Del Norte and Humboldt, they have a better connection with those MAGA hats or those Trump hats. You know, instead of having to spend, you know, $15, $25 online, you know, we can get a better price on it. Therefore, we can go to the fair and through donations, you know, raise more money for the Sonoma County Republican Party, and then we can do a better job of electioneering. You know, it's kind of like we're having this event with Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza charges $15,000 to come out and speak. We have Brandon Straka opening up for him. He costs $5,000 to speak. That doesn't include their travel or lodging and those other things. We couldn't put that on in Sonoma County. That's a $20,000 commitment. That basically that would take away any electioneering possibility. We would have our fingers crossed that we could sell a 500-person venue to go hear these things. You get together, you get 5 counties working together, it's a breeze. It's so much easier, because you have 5 people, 5 groups all committed together. You've multiplied that effort. Instead of 10, 20 people in Sonoma County working on it, now we've got, you know, 50 to 100 people working on it. And therefore now we're basically halfway sold out, and we're still a month and a half from the event. Tickets are every day. People are buying more tickets. And so those are the sorts of things that I hope I am able to bring to the table, because I have worked as a candidate with various counties, and I understand that, how to coordinate, and so I'm hoping I'm able to do that. So I mentioned earlier that regional vice chair. So I'm one of 8 regional vice chairs on the California Board of Directors. There are 7 others. Most of them come from Southern California. There's 2 of us that really represent North California. I have 9 counties. Deborah Wilder, who is my partner up on the north, she has 18 counties that she represents. LA gets 1 person to represent their entire county. The Southern Regional Director, I think, represents 3 counties. Now, they have a greater population. It makes sense and to that extent. But still, it makes the job difficult. I mean, I can only imagine. I complain about having 9 counties. I see Deborah, and I'm just like, I have nothing to complain about. You've got 18 counties to worry about. You know, and when you get into these rural areas, it's a little difficult, because not all the counties are functioning. You know, that's one of the things that was eye-opening for me taking on this position, is we're pretty well quite functioning here in Sonoma County compared to some other counties, even in our region. I mean, there's some wonderful people who are doing their best to try to do what they can do in their county, but they just don't have the resources nor the manpower. And you know families, every now and then families get in fights and have bickering issues, and sometimes that makes it difficult for the county to get together and work. And so there's those issues going on in the state of California as well too. So overall, my message about the state of California and the Republican Party mostly is that I am optimistic about the future. You know, I don't know how many of you were there when I spoke just for a few minutes before Jay Obernolte spoke, but one of the interesting things that I felt about our new board that was elected was that we elected a millennial Latina as our chairwoman. We elected a Taiwanese immigrant as our vice chair. We elected a outright gay man as our treasurer. We elected another Latina as a regional vice chair, another gay man as a regional vice chair, and all this was done without focusing on those issues. Nobody cared what these people were, what they did in their life, what they looked like, what God they worshipped, what color skin they had, because they're Republicans. We don't care about that stuff. Instead, when we focused on the issues and who the best candidates were, and look what happened. Look who we elected. Because we're not the party of the old white man. No offense to old white men, because I'm going to be one at some point in time too. If not, my son says I already am one. I'd like to believe I have a few more years. Yes, I know this. But we are not. We truly are not. I mean, there's a stat that I don't know the specific number. I can't think of it right now, but the majority of folks who become citizens in San Francisco are registering Republicans. Especially the Asian population. They're registering Republican because they're running. Their family has run from socialism, from big government, from communist nations, and they look at the Republican Party and they say, well, this is the only option I have that gives my children any sort of legacy, because they're not going to get it back home. And that's interesting. You don't hear that on the news, So, I mean, some of the things I'd like to see done a little differently in California to be more successful. It's kind of like Eddie brought up earlier today, Gavin Newsom and the gas. He made a big issue of today, like, well, why are the gas prices so high? It's like, come on. And you look on social media, and I have to say, a lot of my friends, colleagues are just kind of laughing. Like, look at Gavin Newsom. It's just like, that's not the right approach. We should be harassing our state legislators to come up with a plan right now to present a package of 5 bills or whatever to say this is how we're going to reduce the tax burden on the middle class, and then go into every single corner of the state of California and showing people we have the plan and they're the ones obstructing you having more money in your pocket. We have a plan to reduce taxes, but that's not what's being done. And again, that gets back to the same problem of why I think we're not necessarily winning elections. But I think with Shannon Grove, with Marie Waldron, I'm very optimistic. I think those are 2 extremely talented women. They've shown it through their years in office, and I think that they can be successful into kind of getting over that hurdle. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take us to be behind them. It's going to take all of us, all of the Republicans in California, to really understand that we all have to work for this, all of us. When Sonoma County puts out an alert that we need to go to work, we have to get to work. It depends on us. No cavalry is going to show up ever here in Sonoma County. We were lucky to get those phones that we got. I don't know if that'll ever happen again, but we were lucky to have them. I'm hoping this phone program works so we don't have to, and therefore we can make that a habit, that we can do those sorts of things. I'm hoping that we can have more mailers go out through the state party, because they do get a lower reduced postage rate, which helps to be able to send things out. So there's different things that I think the state can do, but ultimately it really comes down to us. I'm optimistic. Again, I can't say that enough about the future of the California Republican Party, but it's going to take work. It's not something that's going to be easy to do.